Now, Dr. Rasheem, she argues that there are 5 levels of racism. The first is personal, internal values, beliefs, and biases. Because I don't know Darren, I can't make an argument about his internal values or his beliefs or his internal biases. I don't know him, and I'm not a mind reader, so I can't make a judgment there. But there are interpersonal, racism can be interpersonal, and that's behaviors, language, and interaction with others. So the behavior here is where Darren smiled when I had lost my resolve and felt humiliated. He was grinning from ear to ear. Language, right? Where I'm on the phone with Darren and he is condescendingly saying Miss Canada, and then he hangs up in my face. That is interpersonal racism. It demonstrates how there is a person that is interacting with another person and how they are essentially displaying racism through their behaviors as well as their language. And in this situation, I think Darren, he displayed racism by hanging up in my face, because essentially what he was doing was stating that my complaint wasn't important enough for him to listen to. It wasn't important enough to forward to the commissioners. Now, this is important. This is institutional racism, right? This is embedded in rules, policies, and practices that favor one group over another. And we need to keep in mind that the Northern Ireland Human Rights Commission is speaking out every day about instances. All you need to do is take a look at their X account or their Facebook account, and you will see that the Northern Ireland Human Rights Commission is being vocal and vociferously speaking out about practices that impacts marginalized communities. But are they speaking out about this? Are they voicing their concerns when it relates to all communities? Now, marginalized communities is very broad, and this can encompass the traveler community, the Islamic community. This can encompass women. This can encompass the LGBTQ community. This can encompass ethnic minorities. And just because they speak out against actions that impact and disenfranchise part of these communities doesn't mean that they're speaking out about all of the members in each community, or speaking out in favor against practices that impact and disenfranchise all members and all social groups. Now, let's look at ethnocentrism. This is evaluating other cultures based on one's own cultural standards. Ethnocentrism. Ethnocentrism. This is evaluating other cultures based on one's own cultural standards. So here I would argue that Darren has been given a very discriminating script. And one thing that I noticed is that the United States of America continues to push the case that I brought against Texas Mutual Insurance Company up in the algorithm. So every now and then, like, I'll do a search for my name and to look to see like what information is put online. And one thing that I've noticed is that the United States of America, these intelligence agencies, one thing that they'll do is either push that case with Texas Mutual Insurance Company. And keep in mind that this case is a very old case. This is like a case that happened in 2016, between 2016 to 2017. So what year are we in now? We're in 2026. There's no reason for a United States case that old to show up in the algorithm within Europe. This is an indication that the US government, through its proxies and its intelligence agencies, are pushing that case up in the algorithm on the first, sometimes it's on the first page, sometimes it's on the second page, and sometimes it's on the third page. They're pushing that up so that people can read that case and to make a judgment off of the information that they're reading from that case. Because in that case, it talks about, alleged crimes that it alleged that I committed. But let's get into that. What really happened is that in 2013, 2 law enforcement officers in the United States of America, in the state of Florida, in the city of Tampa, sexually assaulted me. That's no big secret. I talk about that in Running from Empty Shoes. I detail that experience. It's quite explicit. The reason why my experiences in Running from Empty Shoes are very explicit, because I want to put you into the driver's seat of my past experience as a survival sex worker and as a person who had been assaulted by 2 policemen in the United States of America. And what's regrettable is that, as I mentioned in Running from Empty Shoes, is that Pam Bondi was the Attorney General in Florida during that time. I reached out to her for her support. She told me she could not investigate the police officers, that she would actually represent the police officers, would be on the police officers' side, which was disappointing to me. I reached out to Marco Rubio's office when he was senator at the time, and he discounted my claims, ignored me entirely. Now, I want you to keep in mind that at this time, you may say, well, Kiana, why did you reach out to Marco Rubio? He is a Republican. Well, at this time, I wasn't into politics, right? I was just a victim that was assaulted and was reaching out to everybody that I could, right? That I felt could assist me or could advocate for me or that could bring the perpetrators to justice. And in that situation, Marco Rubio did not. And so we all know what happens in Running from Empty Shoes. I'll link my book in the description box below so that you can read it if you want to. Is that the state brought a lot of charges against me to silence my voice about my victimization in 2013 and tried to make me out to be the patsy by making it appear as if I was engaged in criminality, which was false. And you can read my book so that you can understand more about what I went through during that period of time. But as a side note, and this is, I'm bringing this up because I think it contextualizes things, is that the U.S. government continues to push that up, even though that history is old and that history has already been explained. It continues to push that up in the algorithm because they know that solicitors in Belfast and human rights organizations, what they're going to do is that they're going to take a mental shortcut. They're not going to read Running from Empty Shoes. They are not going to ask me about the information that they're reading online. They're just going to look at that information and make a split-second decision about who they think I am. And intelligence agencies are skilled. They know that you do this. They know that you make split-second decisions, that you use heuristics, that they know that your schedule is busy. They know that you don't have enough time to look into things thoroughly, or that you may not want to look into things in thoroughly, as I believe his name is Andrew Bustamante argues, we are in an intelligence age, no longer in an information age, and now is really just the time to really kind of evaluate the information that is being put before us and being able to decipher it. And people are still stuck in an information age where they're using heuristics, and once something is put in front of them, they are making a split-second decision, not looking at it any further. And this is something that I agree with Bustamante on, is that yes, we have to look deeper into the information that is out there, and to make informed decisions and intelligent decisions about the information that we see. And I will link that video in the description box below as well. So I think I watched after I saw Bustamante here in Belfast. He ran past me. As I mentioned, he ran past me, and I ran after him, and I was like, hey, I've seen you on YouTube. I've seen you on Facebook. You're Andrew Bustamante, right? You're this ex-CIA agent. And I explain how, and I'll link those in the description box below, where I speak to him very briefly, and he told me that he was here on vacation and that he was having a couple drinks with friends. And I did ask to meet with him because I wanted to pick his brain about transnational repression, but he alleged that he was on a holiday, and I can see that he felt a little uncomfortable with talking to someone, especially like me, that he didn't know, so I didn't push it. And so after that encounter with Bustamante, I decided to continue to, every now and then look at some of his videos, and that was about information age versus intelligence age. I found that to be quite interesting. So I will link that video in the description box below, and you can listen to it and watch it if you want to. So let's go back to ethnocentrism. Evaluating other cultures based on one's own cultural standards. So possibly a cultural standard would be, criminality is wrong. Engaging in crimes is wrong. And I would agree, criminality is wrong. But we need to look at structures that are in place, and structures would illuminate our understanding of how society can put people in positions to where they are arrested, or put people into positions to where they are looked at as criminals. So in my situation, going back to my situation in running from empty shoes in 2013, I was a victim of a heinous crime, and because I had no power and didn't have anyone advocating on my behalf, I had the police, for a very powerful police force, the Tampa Police Department, who created a narrative that really continues to impact me to this very day, where people judge me off of the information that they read online by believing that I have somehow engaged in criminality and engaged in all these crimes, when really it was the opposite. It was my trying to get my car out of impound. I went to the police for their protection and their assistance, and they victimized me in that particular situation. And so, again, structural racism, right? The broader historical, political, and social context of the system. Well, it could very well be that Darren is looking at that information. The Northern Ireland Human Rights Commission is looking at that information, that Texas Mutual Insurance Company case, and they're making a decision off of that case, along with the information that's being funneled to them by intelligence agencies, not to represent me. And what does this do? This re-victimizes me, and it allows the illegal and unlawful behavior to continue. And I want to mention something that I found interesting that Dr. Rasheem says. She says that she argues that people rarely separate institutional and structural racism. And I have to agree with that. Now, I want to say that I really don't know. I really don't know the full history of Dr. Shiva Rasheem's work. Just that video that I watched on YouTube. So, as a disclaimer, that if right now we're in the age where we have to continue to issue disclaimers, where there is the U.S. government that is creating so much problems in the world and pitting Israelis against the Palestinians. People are arguing that this is Israel. I'm going off of a tangent for a moment because I want you to understand how this is happening. The U.S. government, people think that it is Israel that is perpetuating this war, when in reality, it's really the United States that wants the war between the Israelis and the Palestinians. And I would almost argue Ireland as well, that they are actually funneling or, pushing for this war to continue. And you're going to see, maybe it'll come out in months, maybe it'll come out in years, but you're going to see how Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, was an active participant in keeping this war going between Israel and Palestine. And so now, ladies and gentlemen, it's difficult to really have discussions about anything without offending someone. So like right now, like to reiterate, it could very well be that Dr. Rasheem has taken a stance, and maybe her stance is against Israel and in favor of Palestine. I don't know. But that does not mean that the information that she provides on institutional racism is not helpful. And it doesn't mean that because she has spoken out against a state, whether that is Palestine or whether that's Israel, that she is a bad person or that she is a hateful person. She does amazing work as it relates to institutional racism. She is well informed and intelligent, and she deserves her accolades as a scholar.